People nowadays don't recognize the name Audie Murphy, or the achievements he made, or more importantly, the kind of man he was. He was a war hero in World War II that fought in the European theater, and a man that was true to himself and others. Being a history major, and World War II being one of my favorite parts of history to study, I came across him and his story. It was then I discovered in asking other people about him that far too few people knew about who he was. As such, I would like to celebrate and have us remember today the man that was Audie Murphy. He was the most decorated soldier in World War II, an honest man with a humble background that never lost sight of himself or who he was, and lastly, someone who never stopped trying to do the right thing or be an example for others. Growing up, Audie Murphy was born into a dirt poor family with 12 brothers and sisters, including himself. When he was 15, his father left, and his mother died a year afterwards. And yet, through all of this, he took care of his family. He was not the oldest, but it did not matter to him. He took care of them no matter what. When his father left, he hunted animals for his family to eat. And after his mother had died and all of his siblings were taken to an orphanage, he then decided that he would go fight in the war once the war began. Yet he made a promise to his family before enlisting in the military. He promised that he would come back from the war and buy them all a big house for them all to live in, a promise that he was very intent on keeping. Even though he was far too young to enlist, this hardly stopped him from trying numerous times with all the branches until he was accepted into the army after he had falsified his birth certificate. When his sister asked why he wanted to do it, he simply replied, "I just want to do my part." This was the kind of man that Audie Murphy was at heart. Brave, loyal, brave and loyal both to his loved ones and his country. Characteristics that he would display throughout the entire war. He earned the Medal of Honor for covering his men while they retreated, as he fought off 6 German tanks and 250 infantrymen with a 50 caliber machine gun on top of a burning tank with no cover. The saying, "Our actions speak louder than words," just showed us the kind of man and soldier that he was, that let him become the most decorated soldier of World War II. Brave and a daring found almost nowhere else, and most of all, loyalty to his men and loved ones. Characteristics that are also displayed when he avenged his best friend that was killed by a German pretending to surrender. Gunning him down, Audie then also wounded several others and took over 10 German prisoners by himself. After the war, Audie came home and was presented with parades in his name, and yet none of that mattered, as one of the first things he did when he came home was to buy a big 2-story house, which he then gave to his family to live in, fulfilling the promise that he had made to them 3 years earlier. He was most definitely a man of his word, to say the least. After the war, his life was filled with ups and downs, yet even when he was down, he never betrayed who he was. Even when he was poor and in debt, he would refuse to appear in ads and commercials for smoking, as he knew he would have an impact on the younger generations. Even when he was down on his luck, he was still looking to protect others, and that never changed the day he died. And when he did die, he was then buried in Arlington National Cemetery, where beforehand he had requested that his gravestone be the same as all the others, not wanting to receive any other recognition. Throughout his entire life, Audie Murphy was an inspiration to those around him, and an example to the rest of us. Through his actions in World War II, he was a hero. To his family, he was someone that always looked after them, and to others, an inspiration. Through this, I hope everyone can remember and honor the man that was Audie Murphy. Even though he was the most decorated soldier in World War II, this was only a byproduct in truth that came to him because of the kind of man he was. Brave, courageous, and a man that kept his promises when he made them, and one that stayed true to himself until the very end.